Workshop meeting. No, I'm sorry. Can I retract that, please? This Board of Selectmen meeting to order of Wednesday, January 29th. It is now 6:30. If we would like to all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, this meeting is being recorded for Templeton Community TCTV. It will be, is there anyone in the audience who is recording? Hi, Cheryl. Nice to see you. It will be put out on YouTube and Facebook for everyone. And I'm sorry, Mike, did I leave anything off?
No, that sounds good.
Okay. At this time, is there any public comment? Seeing none. Our first directive is meeting minutes of January 8th, 2020. Do I hear any motion?
Motion to accept the minutes of January 8th, 2020.
Second.
I have a first and I have a second. Is there any discussion?
Yes. First line, it says, Haley Brooks requested a moment of silence for Mr. Dennis. I'd wonder if we could add Wilfred Dennis so people would know, I think
Yeah, I
people
think the
would
name
be
should-
more, well, they would know who he's speaking about.
Should be spelled out.
Yeah, I would like to have it Wilfred.
What is it?
Yeah, but I mean, Wilfred
Bumpsy.
Bumpsy Dennis,
Yeah.
they would know who he is. He was a long time on the assessors, this, that. He was an interesting guy to talk to. So
I agree with that change.
That's
have
good.
that.
Holly, did you hear that?
Yeah.
Okay, so.
Diane, I have another amendment.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, it's on the meeting minutes for the January 8th. It's item 3E as an echo. And it said, last line, consensus of the board to plan that they will go with the minimum local contribution. I believe we said the historic minimum local contribution.
That is an accurate statement.
So that'll need to be amended.
Okay. Any other changes?
I saw none other.
I put with an eye on giving. Under that same one, I ended it with an eye on giving more in the future when possible, according to our bylaws. I thought I said that. That's all right. I just figured I'd throw it out there.
Yeah,
But for,
I do have a comment. In the future, under public comment, we frequently get, whether it's a presentation like Bob Bronson did, or we get questions or requests for information, as Steve Drury came in to do. I was wondering in the future if we can tag, if people on the board pledge to take that as an action item. Holly, if you could just tag that within the public comments. You do a great job capturing what is being said, but maybe in parentheses you put whose action item it is to go get that data. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Is that the night that you said you would help Steve? Is that what you mean?
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was talking about. So if like Diane says, I will go research and get back to the citizen. If someone's going to pledge that, I just want to make sure that that's captured in the minutes for both the person that comes in, so they have a record that they were addressed, and then also, with all that we have to do, so we have actually a record to make sure that we know who's got the white piece of string around the finger in terms of getting it done.
Okay, I'll add that in there.
Great.
Excuse me,
Nothing else.
Madam Chairman, may I? Mike, did you know that was done? It is done. According, Lori, I believe you submitted that court case to the, so that's done. Did you know that was
Yep.
done?
Yes, I mean, as far as that specific action item, yes. I was just in the future for a matter of taking minutes.
Okay, thanks.
But thank you, I appreciate that.
Are there any other additions or subtractions? Okay, hearing nothing else. How do you? Holly, do we have any water? Please,
Adam to the rescue.
thank you, I'm so sorry. Jeff, how do you vote?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes,
And I, Mike?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well.
This
Thank
is-
you.
this is a hydration gun.
Something, thank you. I'm so sorry.
Oh, she's got a cough drop too. You should eat it.
Oh, thank you, and thank you, Adam, for the, oh my God, I am so sorry to the public.
I wanna hit you back.
No, I just feel like there's something stuck in my chest. Thank you. Okay, so, the next minutes are January 13th, 2020. Oh, thank you, Adam. Thank you very much. You're welcome.
I move to approve the minutes of the Board of Selectmen meeting on January 13th as presented.
Second.
Any discussion?
One thing on J, is that under 5J? It said motion carries 4-0. I had to recuse myself, so that would be a 1, 2, 3. Yeah, there were only, you were absent, so that means 3-0, not 4-0, because I recused myself, because it's rec department.
Okay, I'll put that in there.
Yeah, make sure you note Terry recused yourself, please.
So Terry recused herself?
Yeah.
That should be noted in there.
Yep, Holly will do that.
How about on 3 public comment when Mr. Dory came in? It says, spoke regarding a charge for Templeton Municipal Light and Water for a meter that is now on his tax bill. Should that say set as a lien on his tax bill to be specific?
This wouldn't be a lien on his tax bill, it should
It is,
be,
he can't pay his taxes till he pays that fee.
is it a lien on his property?
It's on his,
I think it's a lien on his tax.
Okay,
well, what is, he said he can't pay his tax till he pays that lien.
Yeah, so you just need the word lien put into the minutes, correct?
That's what I thought.
Just
He
whatever
said-
they wanna do.
That's what I thought he said, but I don't know. That's what he said.
I mean, by a matter of fact, just for, item number 3 there, I agree with you, Terry. We just have to insert the word lien.
That's all I have.
I have a change as well. That was the meeting that I was not able to attend due to an illness. And on section number 8, I could not have seconded a vote because I was not here. So I'm not sure who seconded the motion for the executive session, so that needs to change.
Note that.
The 13th.
Might have been Julie.
Are there any other additions or subtractions? Hearing none. Jeff, how do you vote?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes,
Mike?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. There are no executive session minutes. And under new business, Mr. Terenzini, are there any introductions of new employees?
There are no employees to introduce, and we have no committee appointments to put before you.
Okay.
Did we vote on the first set of minutes?
I'm sorry?
I didn't hear the vote on the first set of minutes. Did we do the vote?
Yeah, it was-
They were it was unanimous. So we have a Class 3 license renewal for USA Auto Recycling. Holly, do they have everything in?
They do.
Okay. So do I hear, I'm sorry. Do I hear a motion to approve the Class 3 license renewal for USA Auto Recycling to expire on December 31st, 2020?
So moved.
Second.
So I have a first and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Jeff, how do you vote?
Yes.
Terry?
yes,
Mike?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. The next item on the list is a presentation for the quarterly report for development services. Well, hello, Lori. It's lovely to see you.
Lovely to see you all.
Thank you for giving us the report early. Mike, did you receive the email from Lori?
I will check, but please don't let me hold that up from her giving her presentation.
Okay.
I literally sent it to you probably half an hour ago.
Then I probably have it. I'll pull it up while you're reading it.
Okay.
Thank you.
so we don't,
So, similar to the last report, the Green Communities Grant was submitted in a timely fashion, and we await more information on the results. The building commissioner, things really haven't slowed down. This week was pretty good, but last quarter was still very busy. We had 36 permits that included
Wow.
residential additions, renovations, and 1 new building. The plumbing inspector had 22 permits, 9 gas permits, and wiring had 42. So it was busy. The only activity really with the zoning board was Mr. Thompson on Shore Drive had gone before the board, and he was looking for a reduction in the back property offset. And they did allow it to go down to 10 feet after he reconfigured what he was going to build. So they met in the middle. Agriculture has been quiet. We haven't had any nuisance animal complaints. Chickens are all behaving, so we're good there. Planning Commission had 4 approval not required requests. That's when they break out lots. So we had 2 brand-new lots on Brooks Road and, I'm sorry. I never brought these. There we go. 1 on Shady and 2 on Brooks. And the articles at town meeting were both eventually approved, wireless communication and the Baldwinville Road change to commercial. Those have all gone through. Conservation Commission, even in the winter months, they complete site walks. They had 5 site walks, ranging mostly for new residential properties. And there was a problem on Shady Lane with forestry. We also welcomed Amanda Susi to the board. She was approved as a member of conservation, and she's looking to serve in other areas too.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yes. In the Board of Health, some of the bigger things that happened were the land cap, maintenance, mowing, inspection by Mass DEP, and the well monitoring all took place. All good results. We're very happy. We completed a Region 2 emergency management drill for the quarter. That went very well. We went through annual permit renewals, rubbish, food, nicotine, haulers, campgrounds, trailers, all of them. And unfortunately, due to weather, I did miss out on 3 administrative search warrants. So we'll be catching up on those. Albert Drive, Sawyer, and Shore. So we have 3 houses in the abandoned housing process. And basically, that's what I have for you.
Does anyone have any questions for Lori?
Madam Chair, if I might, I would just like to bring to your attention that given the activity on the plumbing and the electrical,
Yes.
we have begun discussing whether or not we need to raise the cap on the revolving fund. And I would anticipate that when we present that budget package and legislative package to you at the end of next month, that you will see some sort of increase in at least one, if not both of those revolving funds. Because as you know, we pay them a percentage of the permits. So as those go up, if there's more activity, we need to make sure that we have accounted for that.
Okay, thank you.
Just wanted to give you that heads up.
So Carter, we pay the inspectors a portion of the permits, that's what you just
Yes.
said? Okay.
20% is retained in the general fund, 80% is paid to them, but there's a maximum that they can earn in a given year based upon the cap that gets put on the revolving fund.
Right. Good.
Amanda Souza, capital planning, please.
Currently looking at open space, but I'll
That's fine,
I'll
that's
send
good,
that her
that's
way.
Thank you, Lori.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
And very quickly, I think I just committed to open space participation as of today.
Oh, thank you very much, Mike. Thank you, Mike. Okay, the next item on the agenda is the FY 20 second quarter report for community services.
Hi,
Hi.
Hi, Jackie.
how are you?
Nice to see you.
Good to see you too.
Thank you.
Sheila couldn't be here tonight, so I'll just hit on the highlights of her report. She passed an exam to be part of the National Association of County Veteran Service Officers, and she's in the process of being accredited as a claims agent. She attended some trainings in October, set the date for the resource fair to June 27th. She's planning a much larger fair this year. Last year's was very successful. I went to it. It was great, and she's got a lot of neat things in the works for this year, make it even bigger and better. She attended Wreaths Across America, and she has formed a couple of partnerships to host a luncheon at the Legion and a coffee social every week at Crossroads for veterans and their families and friends. So if you have any questions, I'll do my best. Moving on to senior services, some of the activities they've had in this quarter: meditation, yoga, stitching, bingo, stained glass. Their world tour went to Germany. If you haven't been there for one of their world tour events, they're really neat. Alicia does a great job. She's got the music of the region playing, all kinds of food, and it's a neat program. I've been a couple of times, so I'm trying to think who they're doing right now. Egypt, I think, right now. So fourth grade came to visit in December and did a little sing-along. They hired a new driver, so that's good. We've got 4 days of solid rides for medical trips and social type things. And Sue provided some statistics. 35 Thanksgiving baskets, 25 Christmas. 70 kids were provided with Christmas presents off their mitten tree. And they averaged about 30 people per day visiting the center in this quarter. So,
Good.
busy place. Steve, do you want to come up and, do you have yours? Yeah.
Yep. Evening, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Steve?
Fine, thank you. So, second quarter report, as you may know, TCTV experienced a bit of a bump in viewership due to a school budget issue largely, but I think we're able to capture some of those people who tuned in for that and to enjoy more of our videos, both of other meetings and the cultural offerings that we do. So we saw some pretty crazy numbers in the quarter, 190,000 impressions. And those are just thumbnails that go out, so when you share a video and it goes out to your friend's Facebook page, that counts as an impression, but that shows your entire universe. And that's really good, and more than 18,000 views and 1,700 watch hours. We picked up 52 subscribers on YouTube. We typically do about 3,000 views a month, and that's what we've done the last few weeks, which has been slow because of the Christmas break. So I think that shows that we've captured some of that audience that tuned in for some of the more controversial things.
I was pining for live stream last night with the planning board meeting. I couldn't get down.
We're
I
gonna
can't-
get there
but last-
eventually.
Yeah.
We should be able to do that sometime this year. And we've been working on our sponsorships. We did a sponsorship with Country Roads, ran a sponsorship for the Montechusett Business Journal show that we did on them, and it was very successful. We had several hundred views on that, and the Facebook posts went out everywhere, and they were very happy with it, and we're gonna do follow-ups with all of those shops. So that puts us in front of 19 shops at once, and maybe we can convert some of those into, somebody wants to do a cooking show, or something like that. And we also started the Collector Time test sponsorships, which rely on interviews that we did at last year's Cabin Fever show, and they're running now up until the show. And it kind of serves as a promo for that show, too. So it's nice to be able to test out that sponsorship.
I've been
And all's
watching.
going well, and everyone seems to be happy with it, and we'll get even better at doing these over time. And I think I covered this the last time we were here, but, you know, we have shows on YouTube, we have these as playlists too, for the Business Journal, for Templeton's with the musicians, Meet the Craftspeople Collector Time, and also Inside Templeton. I think Hannah just did a neat one with the Historic Society on the Goodrich sisters and the miniatures, and it's really neat because we can send it out, and then Brian Tangway will post it on their Facebook page, and I'll go to bed and I'll say, you know, there are only 10 people watch it, and I wake up and it's got a couple hundred views. And then everyone goes to his page and comments on it, but that's okay too, you know? So we're doing pretty well, and we're still small. We have a lot of growth to do, but I think we're in a great spot.
I think the Historical Society has really, I'm taking a step back. When I used to blog a lot on Tuesdays in Templeton, and then the Historical Society really started to, because I used to blog about historical stuff here in town.
I read
That's
it.
how I started off. And then the Historical Society took off. They've really done well for themselves and really have a lot of viewership and a lot of engagement. And I think that doing more on them, they really do well with historical stuff here in town.
Absolutely.
And, you know, there's a lot of history to be had and to be told.
Yeah.
Really, there are a lot of stories to be told, and people really love to hear about the history of Templeton.
Sure. They've been great partners for us, and they were one of the first ones that we reached out to, and, you know, I see us doing more and more together. We gotta get Brian into the school in front of the murals to
Oh,
explain
those
those
are so
photos.
beautiful.
Good idea.
And I put a whole list of things to do for Inside Templeton, like find Princess Rock and
Yeah.
and all that. And
History of the Boynton Library?
yeah, yeah, and someone came up with, I think I saw on Facebook, they were talking about the Baldwinville Witch.
Yep, there is.
So,
yeah.
you know, Zach was, can I do the story on the Baldwin Bridge? I say, if you can find her, that's even better.
No names.
I know where Princess Rock is.
Yeah, so we can do a show on that sometime.
But it's really fun if you can maybe, do some more with some history. When I started really looking into the history here in town, it's wonderful.
Yeah,
Just wonderful.
It's fascinating. And
It
they
is
know a lot
fascinating.
about it, and I think people are interested in that, too.
Harry Aldrich is a good one to
Yeah.
talk to about the history as well,
Yeah.
because he
Ralph
just loves it.
Henshaw.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ralph Henshaw, too. Yeah.
We gotta get all of Harry's transparencies that he has of the Templeton Inn.
Oh,
Get
it
him
was
to
so
narrate
beautiful.
something and do a show on that, too.
My
working on it.
father's house was the part of the Narragansett Zoo.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So this is the stuff that you find out when you do your homework.
Mm-hmm.
So, but people really do love to hear about the history of town.
And where the Indians hung out up on North Cross Hill, there's 2 spots up there that Brian knows, at the Indian stable,
Okay.
and there's another.
So see, there's all kinds of stuff that
Yeah,
people know about.
we have topics for a long time now, I think, so.
Yeah.
And we're still getting organized for this year, and hopefully the staff, they're doing really well. I'm trying to get them to kind of organize themselves so they can go out and do this, and they're really the ones who are gonna be running it, so,
That's awesome.
yep. We're happy
That's
right
great
now.
work.
Thank
Nice
you.
that you got the help.
Thank you. It is.
Yeah.
Can't do it without it. You do a good job. That's all I have, I'm sorry.
Oh, don't be sorry.
Okay, moving on to Cultural Council. The Cultural Council met twice in the second quarter, once in November to review applications, and then in December to vote on applications, and the results of their voting are on the Mass Cultural Council website. And just, they are definitely in need of new members. They need to have a minimum of 5 in order to guarantee that money comes from the state. And I think Pat was telling us last night at your meeting that they've got a couple that are ready to step down.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
So, maybe Amanda Susie would like to. I know Amanda, she'd probably be great on it, but just for the general public, it's a nice committee to be on. It's not huge time involved in it, and they do a lot of they fund a lot of great programs, so hopefully we can get a couple people. Scott, I'm
Jackie,
sorry,
how many are on the committee right now?
there are 5 right now.
So there are 5, but
There
there
are
are a
5.
couple who
There are
are
a couple
thinking of
that are,
stepping down.
They are ready.
So-
And I think they have I think they won't allow someone to be on for 3 consecutive terms. I can't remember what Pat said. They have a restriction.
That's the statute, they have to step off
Right,
for a year.
so
Okay.
they may not even be stepping down because they're no longer interested. They may be.
Because they
forced
have to.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So it would be great if we could get a few more people on
Okay.
that great board. Scott Dill couldn't be here tonight, but he reported great numbers for soccer.
Wow.
225 kids, which is great. And then the big news for rec was the Westfield State study that they did for, the way the department's structured, the fee schedule, that sort of thing. So we're still digesting all the information from that. We have a rec meeting next week to really kind of dig into it and see what the committee feels is a good place to land for structuring our fees. But it was a tremendous amount of information and really great information that we can use to, build that department. So that was great. And for the library, we are certified. In this quarter, we had to file our 2 big reports with the state. So everything got approved. Story hours chugging along with all kinds of kids. And the teachers in this past quarter at TES signed up for class visits, which began last Friday, so that was great. It was really great to have them walking over again. And we submitted our capital plan to the committee for their consideration.
Did you know that more people went to the library last year than went to the movies?
Really?
Isn't that
Yes.
wonderful?
It's a
great.
study that was done. More people went to
Wow.
the library than went to the movies.
I love it.
Me too.
It's free.
It's free.
That's great. I love it.
If I can just add one more thing, Sean also produced a Cool Cars series from the interviews we do at Motopalooza.
Congratulations.
And
Oh,
I
that's
I wanna
started
give him
watching
credit.
that. Yeah, I started
He
watching
never gets
some.
enough credit for the work he does, so,
Oh,
Thank you, Sean.
Hey, Sean.
we thank him every week
good,
for all the things that he does for us here.
yeah, he's a good worker.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
you.
Jackie. The next item on the list is the quarterly report for finance.
Oh, my gosh.
And here's Kelly up here already passing everything out.
Jeff sent a link to the DLS for me, and I was, you three all have to agree on your facts and figures, huh? Oh, my goodness. My head is like saturated with terms.
Here's your copy, Mike. I'll leave it.
Thanks, Kelly, I appreciate it. You can just put it in my box.
Okay.
I was listening to your DLS on YouTube today, so now I know how these three, I got an idea in the vocabulary, how these three all have to be in.
All the DLS.
I appreciate that. I used to, my head like feels like it's gonna blow up.
Well, hello, all of you. How are you? It is very nice to see all of you.
Well, it's nice to be here. Okay, so for the second quarter, the two big things in my office were we completed the tax rate and the audit. The auditors came this year. It was a very, very swift process. They were here the end of October. We did the final the first part of December. So that was just wonderful to get that done and out of the way. On the expenditures, again, it's just, if you look at each one, you'll see that, there is some that are over the 50%, but they're ones that have like a one-time big expense. So nothing, out of the ordinary there to bring to your attention. You'll see on your expense budget versus actual, the emergency management is in the negative, but that's one of those we have to spend the money to get the reimbursement. The Chapter 90 also is in the negative, but it's got all of the reimbursements into the state. We're just waiting on those funds. For the revenue, right now, we're at 47% of the budget. The only, I wouldn't be concerned because the biggest amount of our revenue will come in this third quarter with the tax bills, so we'll definitely make that up. The two items that you will see of big note in the revenue report is the investment income. That was one of the things that the auditors, corrected myself and Carter on, is the interest that we had been receiving for the, on the capital projects. The interest needed to go to the general fund instead of those capital projects. So we've now made that adjustment for the prior years. So you will see a large jump in the investment income.
Was that because of the interest was higher in that fund?
No, it's
Said
the,
something about interest.
so the bank account interest that comes in from the bank.
Yeah.
The general fund is supposed to get that money. It doesn't stay in the capital projects. We misinterpreted that when they were talking about the accrued interest.
Yeah.
And it was the accrued interest on, that you would get if there was a delivery time difference in the money that you would
Right.
get on the original ban. So we misunderstood that, but that's all now been corrected.
Yeah.
We had donation funds left for the skateboard park. I did research to find out who had given us those funds at the last, because at this point, you guys have talked about having a skateboard park, but that could be, a few years down the road. So I've contacted the two donors. One of them has asked and requested that money to go, their portion, the 1,000, to the Recreation Department, as they're extremely pleased with what Scott Dillon has happened over at Gilman Waite. The other one, they're in Florida for the winter, so I expect in the spring to hear back from them. And that then will enable us to close out that donation account. And then down the road, when we get back to the skateboard park, you know, we could work for more donations for that. Other than that, that's all for me. Any questions? I'm sure you'll have lots once you look at all of that, Jeff, and you can get back, I'll get back with you.
Notice she said
And,
Look at me because
Well, does.
Kelly, you're gonna comment on the audit team
I
letter
will
at the end.
probably.
I was gonna talk to it after they were done.
Perfect.
Okay, so I'm up next. If you notice in the packet, on the back page of it, I had to substitute my second page of my narrative because I had dropped some dollar amounts, yes. So that's just so you have the exact figures that I put in. Most of this quarter, my second quarter was spent with the town revaluation. This year, analysis for property values were based on the calendar sales in town for 2018. Public disclosure was held between October 31st and November 7th, which gave property owners to come in and review what we had for preliminary values that would be used for their tax bills this year. The office was open for over a week. It was also up on the website, and actually I had no phone calls and nobody came in to check their preliminary values. So with that being said, we submitted the valuations to the state, and the state did approve all our valuations for the properties in town. Homeowners this year saw an increase ranging anywhere from 8 to over 20% of their property values. The finance team had a joint meeting with the Board of Selectmen and the Finance Board in November to go over the tax rate setting process. We thought it went very well. The three of us sat and had a question and answer, and we thought that went really well as a group thing to do with them. Our tax classification hearing was also held. A presentation was given to the Board of Selectmen as a single rate versus a split tax rate. And after all was said and done, the board decided to go with a single tax rate in town. The tax rate recap was then sent to the state for review, and the state approved the town tax rate this year at $16.83. That's less than 40 cents from last year's value of $17.24. The decrease in the rate, because normally you don't see it either going down, especially with the school debt and the police station going on, was mainly because of the valuations going up so high in town. So, overall, the valuations were up, and the trend continued through 2019. Like I said, our valuations set for the tax bills this year are based on sales for 2018, so we're still continuing to trend upward on your town valuation. So next year, I tend to think they might be going up a little more too. Also, when the tax rate was set this year, the police station did go on, and a partial of the school debt was rolled onto the taxes. There's still a little bit of the school debt to go on once we go out to borrow for it. Third and fourth quarter tax bills were committed and sent to the tax collector December 16th, ready to export. And also just a reminder to residents that you can still apply for your exemption for 2020's taxes. You just need to come in and see me before March 31st. But we do still accept applications in the office, so you're still welcome to come in. It's not too late. And to date, we've already given over 186 exemptions to our seniors, our veterans, our elderlies, and it's already totaled over $114,000, excuse me, in exemptions going out to the town. Motor vehicles, we did another commitment in November. That commitment was done as a test because RMV just rolled out a new program called Atlas RMV. So November, they sent us a test. We normally do a commitment in November, but they wanted to test their new system to see how it worked. A few bugs, but everything did go through. Actually, not to jump ahead to the third quarter, but the new one for this year, January 1st ones, went very smoothly. So that is rolling over very nicely. To date, we had, in November, assessed $1.3 million in excise tax revenue for the town. Also, the joint effort with the finance team and the sewer department, we worked pretty much, Kelly, Cheryl, I, either going over, doing conversions,
Everything for the sewer department, we worked back and forth, and everything did convert over in December, and the tax bills, the sewer bills were sent out, and she is now collecting them over here. But the conversion went real well, nice group effort, and we continue to go back and forth and just, work with the sewer department. So I think they'd agree that everything's moving pretty well on this side of collections. And that's it for me, if you got any questions.
Luann, I have a quick question for you.
Sure, Mike. What?
This year is a census year. Does that affect anything within your assessment year?
No,
Does any
census
of-
doesn't affect me at all, no.
Okay, just wondered.
Yep. Okay, typical quarter, pretty much the same thing every quarter anyways. I attended several meetings, the Mass Treasurers Collectors Association, Worcester County, capital planning meetings since October, so. We had 3 new commitments, several demands and warrants were processed during the month. Like Luann said, the registry did a testing, and that went pretty good. The only problem we have is Jeffrey and Jeffrey cannot process demands. So we've been billing those ourselves and printing them and billing them out, but they're usually small. So it's not too bad, but they should have that straightened out with this first commitment. So hopefully that goes well. We did 92 MLCs this quarter, so that's people, usually attorneys calling when there's a sale or people refinancing. They request to know what the person owes, and we get $50 a piece for those, so that was a pretty good chunk coming in this quarter. The legal notices was advertised for any of the FY19 delinquent real estate taxes. We advertised 56 properties, and the ones that didn't pay, 42 of them went, a tax lien was placed on their property. We got those prepared, notarized, and sent off to the Registry of Deeds and for recording, and now there's liens on those properties. If anything happens to them, sold or whatever, then we'd be first on the list to get paid. Bills for the third, fourth quarter went out. Those were mailed on the 30th of December, so everybody should have those by now. The third quarter's due Monday, and hopefully we'll see a lot of people in the next couple of days. No additional bill will be mailed. The fourth quarter was included with that billing, so you got your third and fourth quarter coupons together, so you won't see another billing. The next one will be due May 4th. Worked with Holly throughout the month to make sure that everybody was up to date with their taxes and excise and personal property so that they could get their permits renewed. And the sewer, transferring the sewer. I think it went pretty well. I think people are pretty happy when they come in and pay. They can pay all in one spot. Real estate, excise, sewer all at once, right, one shot, and it seems to be going pretty good. I think it was a good effort on everybody's part and went well.
That's awesome. Anybody have any questions for them? I'm sure you will later.
Not this evening.
Okay. We'll look forward to hearing from you in the morning.
I don't know if you look forward, but.
Well, you know.
It's always a pleasure, Jazz.
Yes. I do have one extra piece that we're gonna add, to our quarterly report, and it's the additional letter that I gave you. It's regarding the management letter, from the auditor and the steps that we're gonna take. Did you get, I gave you a copy of that, or do
Probably
you
had
have
it
it?
somewhere here.
Yeah. Okay. So through the audit, there's the different items on the management letter that we need to address between now and hopefully the end of the fiscal year. So we had a finance team meeting. We went over the options of what we could get done, what needed to happen. And in this memo, which I'm not gonna go over tonight, I'll be here next week at your workshop so we can work through this, but wanted to give you the opportunity to see this tonight and have it for the week so that we can have discussion next week if you have any questions, concerns, suggestions. And then we can hopefully work on this together, get things cleared up, and we can, have a, next year, maybe only have one item or, who knows, maybe we can clear them. So anyway, just wanted to give you that, and so when we do our next quarter, this will be part of it, which will give you an update of where we are on those items in the management letter.
Kelly, could I ask that you email just that letter to me in the
Yes.
interim? Okay, thank you.
I will do that, yeah. Anything else you want me to mention on that, Carter? Okay,
Thank you, Kelly.
okay.
Thank you, all of you, for your report.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is the presentation of the capital plan.
Oh, I get to sit here, look at this. Look at this, I get stuck in the middle.
How are you? Lovely to see you all.
Nice to see you as well,
Good evening.
acting chair, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Terenzini, members of the Board of Selectmen. With me tonight is, I'll have everybody introduce themselves from the Capital Planning Committee. Start with Amanda.
Amanda, how are you?
Hello, Amanda.
Hi,
Bob.
Amanda.
Hello, Bob.
Cheryl.
Hello, Cheryl.
I'm sure you see many
Adam?
familiar faces, and I was served as the ex officio member in Mr. Terenzini's place with this. And I do want to thank, because I served on this committee last year with Mike, and Mike actually came up with a great template for the report.
wondering.
Yeah, and that was actually Mike's work, and I do credit him, which saved me a substantial amount of time when I was going through this with the Capital Planning Committee, when we were coming up with our recommendations to present to the Board of Selectmen tonight. As you see, we laid out the process, and there has been an improvement, because before department heads would come in, we didn't have a standardized form, and that was something that was discussed last year with the Capital Planning Committee, and we made sure that we put in place a standard form that department heads used, which made the process easier for all of us when we were developing our recommendations.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, I know you worked on it, and that was something that you wanted to see get done, and as a committee, I think we accomplished that, so that's a positive thing, making the process more efficient. So, yeah, we had the process narrative where people came in, they did their presentations. Our department narratives, I just pulled out what was presented and everything. I could get into all of the items and departments, but I don't want to be here all night, so. But as you can see in section 3, we have the non-tax impacting request coming out of the cable fund, the gift fund for the library roof porch, the 911 grant, and the cable retained earnings for the sewer. So that's not, we don't have to worry about that per se off the tax impacting requests, which we're gonna move on to section 4. The department submitted over 40 capital requests that are tax impacting. The committee reviewed these requests and set our recommendations. We had about 3 meetings, was it, developing our recommendations? Yeah. We had about 3 meetings developing our recommendations and going through and putting all the requests in place, and we were able to recommend the following 17 items and projects before exceeding the budget limit. Mr. Terenzini set a limit of about in the range of $600,000. And what we were able to do is, you could see the fire department. I'll go through it just so the viewing audience knows what we recommended, just for their information. For the fire department, our recommendation was for the SCBA protective breathing systems for half of them, because they're expiring and need replacement, so the recommendation was $91,770. The fire department, station vehicle exhaust system, this is something that we did, there's 3 of them, the fire department had to get last fiscal year. Capital plan approved one last year with the Board of Selectmen and the town administrator. We put another one there, so they only need one more after this. But the chief's working on getting a grant to get the other one, so hopefully he could get that grant to match. So that was $33,500. The fire department Jaws of Life cutter, $9,480. Fire department ambulance computer system for $12,000. Police cruiser, $44,000. Police body armor replacement and contractual obligation, $10,800. The police, the four-wheel animal patrol officer, this is a replacement and contractual obligation as well, $25,000. Department of Public Works, MS4 stormwater management. These are federal guidelines that we have to meet as a community under the federal rules and regulations. We need to have somebody that's a consultant, and quite frankly, that's $25,000 there. DPW six-wheel plow sand truck, $220,000 there. DPW, don't get scared when you see this, rubber tire backhoe, $117,000, because I'll get back to that at the end. DPW Royalston Road titles appraisals, $25,000. As you know, I'm not sure if you read in the weekly actually, but we're at 75% now with the Royalston Road project, so that's coming up fast. I know Mr. Bennett's been attending the meetings. He's staying on top of it with Mr. Sozik as well, attending those important meetings to get that hopefully by 2024, 2025 was it?
25,
25, something like that.
also like 24, but I plan on 25.
Yes. So this is something that'll get us a step closer. DPW Building and Grounds, leaf vac and blower, start of a new operation. This will make that department be able to get out and take care of things faster, so they have more time to do other work, because there's only so many limited resources. That's $9,060. DPW Building and Grounds small dump body, it's a replacement, $8,500. DPW Building and Grounds zero-turn mower, $13,096. DPW Buildings and Grounds waste oil furnace and electrician, $9,000. DPW Building and Grounds rubber roof repair, this is a repair at the front fire station, $10,800. And finally, DPW Building and Grounds metal roof repair at Baldwinville rear fire station, $15,800, for a grand total of $679,806. But keep in mind, the number should be in the plus or minus 600,000 range as selling, and or trade-in excavator and grader would be applied towards rubber tire backhoe. And we're confident that we could get it within that, if not probably even lower, depending on however the style is we go out to procurement. And that's all we really have.
I have a question.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I realize what you're saying, that it was, your guidance was 600,000. My question is, of your 17 items that you have on the list, are you providing any kind of priority? Were they listed in a priority? That way, when the number does actually shake out and you know what you're gonna have for a final number, where the town administrator can actually manipulate some of those things to come in under cost. That's a good question, and last year we did do that, and Mr. May and I were just chatting about it, because we didn't want to rank and pit the fire department against the police department or DPW against each other. We felt it to be appropriate to put them all and rank them accordingly, giving discretion to the town administrator and the board of selectmen.
Okay. So are you saying that you're gonna sub-rank them by department? That way you're not like.
Yeah, they're ranked in order by department.
Got it.
We didn't go through and say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We didn't want to get into all that, so we ranked them just by department.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And I will say, Mike, one of the things I wanted to point out in this process, I've been through it a couple times, and the department heads that came to the capital planning committee came so much more prepared than I've ever seen them before. The documentation, the backups, the paperwork, the estimates, all together, I thought everybody did a fantastic job and made our job easier. You know, I don't think there is a piece on here that didn't come with an estimate. So that's one of the reasons why we felt fairly comfortable using the numbers that were given to us, because there was already some thought into them. It wasn't just plucked out of the air or off of an old sheet or anything. It was a, relevant, estimate. But it was just a much nicer process. Now, if we could just expand the whole process, I think, would be in a good spot.
And I think it's important to note as well, if Amanda, this is your first time going through this, Mr. May has experience, and Cheryl obviously does, being on this committee, but if you wanted to kind of bring some insight, being a.
I thought everyone's presentations were great. It was easy for me to go through and prioritize what I thought we should spend money on and what we should, what was frivolous and what wasn't. And I think they all did great at explaining what they needed and why they needed it. And they answered every question we threw. And I thought that was great. None of my questions were stupid. They didn't treat me like I was dumb, and I loved it. It was awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really, if I might add, this was very well done, and it was very easy to understand and come to the conclusions that you came to.
Thank you.
And I was gonna ask the same question about ranking that Mike did, but I can understand why you don't wanna pit one, department, against another, and leave that up to, us and the town administrator, and that would really be our job too.
I had a question. Okay.
Nice, Bob, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I had a question, with the replacement, so the replacement of the breathing systems, we're replacing half. Does that mean half the fire department is gonna be in jeopardy at all?
No, we already asked that question.
No.
The fire,
That was the first thing I
did you wanna answer it, or do you want me
No,
to?
go right ahead.
I spoke with fire chief, and he will be able to make it work with half, because he needs that's the number he could go with and work effectively. Because we were concerned when we first got that number of 91,770 times 2. I mean, it was like, whoa, it's almost $200,000. So we had that concern. We went back and forth with the fire chief, and he was like, hey, look they're expiring. I need these, so that's why they're the first ones on the capital.
But half is
I
sufficient?
was gonna say, I might be mistaken, but I believe the half works out so that even, with the active members now,
Correct.
it's, twice plus what they need.
Okay, in
With the
case one
half,
goes
I think
wrong.
the requirement is something like 52 or so many, units for this size department. And with going with half of them, we're,
Okay.
It's really based on the pieces of equipment that are responding to a scene. More than
Terry.
anything else. They can share units to some extent. And I will just give everyone the heads up that 2 may be optimistic, and it may have to be 3 years.
What was?
Mr. Terenzini had a meeting with the fire chief, because by being on the committee here, it's helpful being in the office with Mr. Terenzini. They had a discussion, and the fire chief really believes he can make it work with 1/3. So if you roll it out 1/3, 1/3, 1/3, similar to what we did with the station vehicle exhaust, the rotation, like what Cheryl said, it might be something that we could work out. That's gonna be handled internally, yeah.
And then one of two.
Adam.
Yes,
I mean, that's what
Mr.
we
Chairman.
rank 'em.
Yeah.
And that's why we didn't rank
just,
them.
and just really quickly, I want to answer Terry's question is excellent, and I just want to make it painfully clear. He already has this capability. So this is about swapping out bottles. This is about part of his OSHA requirement, or I'm not sure if it's OSHA, but he has a regulatory requirement to swap these things out. But he has 100% of the capability for each and every firefighter that we have, volunteer or otherwise. So, Terry, to answer your question, we're not losing any capability. He's basically following his mandate to swap those out, as we did last year. Over.
And upgrading.
So everybody's safe.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
But his
Save
concern
road.
too was he didn't want them to all expire at the same time.
Right, I don't blame them. Good thinking.
And to be clear, these are not the bottles, these are the system, regulators, hose, the mask, and all of that.
Yes.
It's not the tanks, it's the real system. The tank is just like an accessory.
Correct.
Oh, roger
Prior
that.
to
Good.
this year, we
Yep,
were
I'm sorry,
getting
good point.
tanks and we were getting the apparatus as a separate unit, buying so many, and, yeah, this will be better. But it would be nice with this, just as a side note, since we're talking here, it would be nice if we could get those on some kind of a rotation, and that's what we had initially started out with, what would work. Because, yeah, because this, we got them on a grant the last time, and that's what's causing the, need them now, all of them. Cause at one point you bought all of them at the same point. And they all expired together. So if we can rotate them in, it would be better for all.
It makes it a little less painful.
Hey, got another question for the Capital Planning Committee. Bob, to kind of dovetail off what you were talking about, that capital master plan, which right now I believe resides in Microsoft Excel format, that document is so important to make sure that the department heads are able to manage their out years for requirements. So for the purpose of this meeting and anyone that's watching after the fact, this document basically makes sure that we're tracking the year to year, not only the trends, but what we're going to need in 20, 40, 60 years. So I just want to make sure that document was saved and it's preserved in a safe place.
And, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, we went through, and I've been working with Kelly too because of the capital assets with the software that we already have. Right now, we have it, our end, the latest, and we went through, we updated every single capital asset, if you will, and it took 2 days, and I actually brought an unpaid intern in to actually help with this process because we had a lot of information in there that we had to really go through and make sure that, fiscal year 20, we spent this, and we have this equipment, but we're also gonna have to go a little further and get the VIN numbers. This is gonna be a multi-year approach is what I'm thinking, but it's definitely in the works, and something that has to be taken seriously.
We're trying to turn it from more of a capital needs program to a capital planning or a capital improvements program. Right now,
That
we
makes sense.
seem to be more in the needs.
Yeah, and kudos to you guys for also managing the non-tax impacting requests. Did some quick math to tally the sheet that was in your report. So if you were in the neighborhood of about $650 for tax impacting, you're also able to help out the rate, whether it's ratepayers, grants, or gifts. You have about $550,000 in capital improvements for library, police, and sewer. So kudos to you guys for doing that much work as well. So you're at about $1 million worth of improvements for the town. I think that's an excellent takeaway from the hard work that you put into this. Over.
Thank you.
Agreed. Any other questions or concerns?
Is there, and Bob, you mentioned something about, not needs-based like we are right now. Is that something that's doable? Cause I was looking at your projections. Would that be something? Next, like,
Yeah.
2023, like this year we have 679,000, but in 2023 you have 302. How does that factor?
Oh, you're talking about the wave.
Oh, yeah, she's talking about the wave. It's I was gonna say, that's basically just a cause of the needs that the department heads come in with. They come in with, $3 million worth of needs, and we gotta narrow out 500,000 of that. Well, the rest of it just gets pushed to the next year. So that's the wave you see ahead of the present year.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? It's
Like $1 million something that
Yeah.
they couldn't get this year.
just rolls to next
Goes to
year.
the next year, so next year you're
Their
in,
wants list could go bigger.
Right,
Oh, okay.
next year, they'll take all that's in that 1.7 or whatever, plus whatever else, add it together. We'll go through all that, pick out what we think
'Cause
works
we still need a
monetarily.
cruiser, you're saying.
You know, you still need a roof, you still need, you know, those things, so.
Something they
Okay.
know that's going down that they may need one or
'Cause I
two
thought
years
if
down
we,
the road, so
if we
we're-
spent this much this year and we didn't have a big budget a lot of needs next year, we could
Yeah,
A community of this size, if I might,
roll it over.
I would anticipate would need to be spending about $1.25 million a year on an annualized basis if it could afford it.
that sounds
Two roofs
very nice.
that are in this capital plan are repairs, not replacements.
Right.
And there are major items that were not able to make the list, which will pose operational challenges, some of which we can address in other means. Perhaps we go out of the business on one of the items. But you truly should be spending about $1.25 million a year.
And we don't even have all of the things even requested on this capital plan, nor was it last year, and even when it was a big fiasco. It's really organized the last couple of years. But if you look at the capital improvements bylaw, anything with a lifespan of 5 years or 10 years, $10,000, or even if it's a multiple of things, if it adds up to over 10. Well, last time I checked, the roads are assets of the town, and they certainly cost more than 10 grand, unless you're just replacing a drain basin of something. So there's building stuff that's not on there. There's a lot of stuff that's not in it. So $1.5 million, that's like really on a low end of the scale.
I'm not including the roads.
No, but I mean,
the
if you,
infrastructure.
that's,
Yeah.
if you follow the capital bylaw improvements plan, go to the DSS and look at best practices, it's an asset of the town, the building. I mean, you have the roof on there, but the buildings, the grounds, the roads, and the infrastructure, and that includes the water mains. And that's all, that's capital, according to the bylaw, and none of that is in the capital plan. So if you look forward and you see, 500 or $1.4 million next year, plus whatever they may want, this is just a small portion of the town's assets. The town is the entire geographical section of the state, and the roads and infrastructure are capital items, they're assets of the town, probably some of the most important. It directly affects the taxpayers. A roof on a fire station, yes, it's important, and it protects stuff that they have bought. But when you drive down a road and you're banging your rims, or you're wrecking this or that, that directly affects you. And it also affects things like snow and ice. You have a nice smooth road, you plow it, you use minimal salt, you actually see the road instead of a hole that's got snow in it, and it makes ice, hard pack, and then, you have accident, all kinds of stuff. So, as big as this capital budget may be, if you consider the town in its entirety and all of the things that are genuine capital assets, spending $1.25 million is really small.
Yeah, and if
It's something for the future, perhaps, to get into this plan, including all of this stuff. But, again,
And
if you go back and look 3-4 years ago, I mean, maybe Bob's first year on there, when they had a spreadsheet, and there was no organization. Mike did do, by coming up with this standard, that logistics training he did.
Yep.
This is really a good improvement. And like you said, now it's organized, departments come in, and it makes it easier for you all, and clearly states the small portion of the capital things that we are doing. But it's very clear now compared to the first time I was on the select board and stuff, and just even a few years ago. So it's a great improvement, and it's clear, but you look at the chunk of money, but you consider the real big picture, it's very small.
And what I'll do at the workshop, because we've been in correspondence over the capital assets, and I don't want to go too far off base here, but I'll follow up with you on that. Mr. May and I have been chatting on the capital assets, and we've been working on that. It's just,
I
It's
know,
really,
you-
it's
you
really
started
old.
from
Yeah,
ground mess.
correct.
Really, seriously.
Yeah.
And it was something that was, again, it was talked about and worked on piecemeal and stuff, but like I said, Mike developed this 2 years ago when he was on the advisory committee, and
Yeah, Mike did a great job.
it's,
Or Mr.
it's a
Chairman, I should
really
say.
great improvement. And it's clear, and it makes it a lot easier on you all and everybody to look at and see. But as far as being inclusive, you
Yeah.
know, work in progress.
It is.
If you take the bylaw and just, what it includes, what it states.
Yeah, Mr.
But
May and I
it's
looked
a-
at that
it's a big
bylaw, right?
improvement.
Mm-hmm.
It's a big improvement, and it is a work in progress, but it's a good one.
Yeah,
I'd like to make an actual capital plan and go year for year, but.
yeah. But
Well,
it was-
I'd move to approve the FY '21 capital plan as presented.
I have a first, do I have a second?
Could I just make an amendment, or could I have one of you make an amendment? Just, in the sewer department, the first page, I just need to, I wrote McDonald on the second, I need to update that to McDonald. So if we could just add that change. So when I put in the
On the
budget.
second page?
On the first page.
Yeah.
I, when I was typing it, I don't know, I was thinking McDonald, and then McDonald, sounds the same, it's not Songer, so it's
That's right, Sewer Bob.
sewer Bob.
So on the
There's
second
an S
page,
Bob.
down the bottom, it
This
should
one?
be,
Yeah, it's right there,
McDonald or McDonald,
McDonald,
down the bottom.
yeah, I'll fix that. Not bad, only one little error.
Mike, would you like to amend?
Yeah, I move to approve the amended FY '21 capital plan as presented.
Thank you. I have a first, do I have an amended second?
I'll second for.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, Jeff, how do you vote?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
We appreciate you. The next item on the agenda are contracts for North County Land Trust for Article 2.
Yeah, I wanna stay.
Yeah.
How we doing?
Oh, we lost Jeff.
Yeah.
We'll just take a
Can we take?
5-minute breather.